I thought I was alone. Then my boss changed everything. I never imagined my life would shrink to the size of that small, cold apartment, the bills piling up like walls I couldn't climb over rent overdue, and the fridge nearly empty. I wasn't lazy. I worked hard. Every day I showed up early, stayed late, wore a smile that hid the weight crushing me beneath. But smiles don't pay bills. Responsibilities don't write checks. Divorced for 4 months, the quiet drift of a fading marriage had left a silence in the house that never left with him. I thought I was strong, but strength didn't keep the lights on, and I was tired of being strong alone. The office was my escape, a small firm with 10 people on a good day where routine gave me a fragile sense of purpose. My boss, Mr. Whitaker, was a serious man, quiet, buttoned up a mystery. We barely spoke beyond work tasks, but one evening after tears spilled silently at my desk, he noticed. His simple question, "Are you all right?" felt like a lifeline in a sea of loneliness. He didn't pry or pity. Instead, he offered something unexpected, a private deal. His parents' 50th anniversary was coming, and he needed help planning it. It wasn't charity, but work, something he trusted me to handle and would pay me for. It was dignity, wrapped in hope. That night, walking home, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Nothing had changed, but maybe life wasn't done surprising me. Maybe hope was just beginning. Our after-hours meetings started with spreadsheets and menus, but slowly they became the best part of my day. Mr. Whitaker wasn't just a boss. He was someone who listened, who laughed genuinely, who shared stories of love and loss. Our connection deepened in the quiet rhythm of planning a celebration, a shared mission that turned into something more. Then one night, his hand brushed mine, a fleeting touch that sent a jolt through me. We looked away, but everything had shifted. Suddenly, this wasn't just about the party anymore. It was about us. If you've ever felt invisible, stuck in survival mode, and then suddenly seen, understood, and valued, this story is for you. Stay with me. The twists have just begun. The days following that quiet offer from Mr. Whitaker were filled with a cautious hope I hadn't felt in a long time. My life was still heavy with unpaid bills and a nagging sense of insecurity, but there was something different now, a small flame flickering beneath the exhaustion. We started meeting after hours to plan his parents' anniversary party. At first, it was strictly business lists of guests, catering options, and venue layouts. I brought colored pens and notebooks. He brought spreadsheets and a calm seriousness that seemed to hold everything together. We were two very different people working toward a shared goal, but slowly the rhythm we found grew into something more. Mr. Whitaker was not what I expected. His quiet demeanor hid depths I hadn't anticipated. When he spoke, he listened, truly listened, like he cared about what I had to say beyond the job. The first time I laughed during one of our sessions, I caught him looking at me as if surprised to hear laughter in his life, and maybe even liking it. That moment was a crack in the wall between us. He shared stories about his parents, how they met in high school, built a business together, and weathered life's storms side by side. "I want to give them a night that reflects their life," he told me one evening. "Something full of heart." I smiled and teased. "So, something messy, chaotic, and unforgettable." He laughed, really laughed, and that sound lingered with me. As the weeks passed, the planning sessions became a sanctuary. We debated menus, music from the 70s, and recreated memories with photo collages and even a wedding cake replica from a faded photograph. I found myself absorbed in every detail, not just because the party mattered, but because the connection between us was growing. Then one night, his hand brushed mine. It was a brief touch, less than a second, but it sent an electric current between us. We both looked down then, away. No words were said, but everything had changed. We worked late into the night, the unspoken tension hanging in the air. That small gesture opened a door I thought had been locked forever. Suddenly, the office wasn't just a place to survive. It became a place where I felt alive, seen, and valued. One morning, he surprised me with 2 coffees in the break room. "I figured you could use a second cup," he said with a wink. That small act meant more than any grand gesture. It meant I mattered. I caught myself watching him sometimes, the way he rolled up his sleeves, the quiet strength in his movements, the way he smiled when a plan came together. He was handsome, yes, but it was more than that. It was the kindness and calm confidence he carried. Our conversation started to go beyond the party. We talked about childhoods, heartbreaks, hopes and fears. He told me about his last relationship, how his ex left because he lived in spreadsheets and missed the affection. I shared my own story, a marriage that faded into silence until it was gone. He listened without judgment, and I felt understood. Our bond deepened quietly, naturally. There was no rush, no pressure, just a growing warmth that felt like coming home. The night of the anniversary arrived like a breath of fresh air. The venue was transformed, golden lights, linen tables, and roses filled the room. The photo wall told a story of love and perseverance, and the replica wedding cake brought tears to his mother's eyes. As I stood beside him, his hand brushed the small of my back. "You did this," he whispered. "We did," I replied. For the first time in weeks, I was fully present, not lost in worry, but filled with something like hope. During the toast, he spoke not only about his parents, but about the people who support us quietly, who remind us what love means every day. He looked straight at me and thanked me for showing him what it means to care deeply and listen. The room faded away, and in that moment I realized how much this connection had healed parts of me I didn't know were broken. After the party, we didn't rush into anything, but the unspoken between us grew stronger. We shared quiet walks, long talks, and little moments that felt like building blocks of something new. A weekend getaway to the coast brought us closer still. No grand plans, just mornings filled with coffee and the sound of waves, evenings spent talking under the stars. He admitted he had been lonely, even surrounded by people. I confessed how I had stopped believing I could be seen for who I truly was. On the beach at sunrise, he took my hand and said, "I don't want this to be just a chapter in your story. I want to build something real with you." His words were a promise, a hope. Back in the city, life went on with its usual challenges, bills, work, responsibilities, but we faced it together now. I found new strength, asked for a raise, and started to feel like I was building something more than just surviving. Our relationship wasn't perfect. There were moments of insecurity and miscommunication, but there was patience, kindness, and a shared willingness to keep choosing each other. His parents welcomed me warmly, affirming the genuine connection we shared. Months later, looking in the mirror, I didn't recognize the woman staring back, not because of her appearance, but because of the lightness and strength she carried. Love had shown up quietly through small acts of kindness, shared purpose, and the courage to trust again. It reminded me I didn't have to face life's struggles alone. The quiet glow of the office lights became a refuge from the storm I carried inside. Our work on the anniversary party was no longer just a task. It had become a thread weaving us closer in a tapestry of shared moments and unspoken feelings. Mr. Whitaker and I were no longer just boss and employee. We were two people navigating the fragile space between friendship and something much deeper, something neither of us dared to name outright. Each evening, when the rest of the office emptied out, we'd linger over details, guest lists, menu options, the perfect playlist of 70s classics. Slowly, conversations drifted beyond logistics. He told me about his parents' journey, their unwavering love through challenges. His voice softened when he spoke of his mother's smile, his father's quiet strength. It was clear how much this night meant to him. One night, as we sat side by side comparing floral arrangements, his hand brushed mine. It was a fleeting touch, a whisper of connection. We both looked down quickly, cheeks warming, and the air around us shifted. Nothing was said yet. Everything had changed. That moment became a secret between us, a fragile ember that would grow despite our fears. Workdays were no longer just survival, but moments of anticipation. His small gestures bringing me a second cup of coffee, remembering how I liked my tea, made me feel seen in a way I hadn't in years. I found myself stealing glances at him, noticing the quiet way he approached problems, the way his eyes lit up when things went right. His smile wasn't grand or flashy, but it held a sincerity that reached into the parts of me that had long been bruised. As the anniversary party approached, the pressure to get everything perfect grew, but so did the bond between us. We debated music choices from funky 70s hits to classic love ballads. He laughed with genuine delight when I suggested recreating his parents' wedding cake from a blurry old photo. Watching his face light up reminded me of what it was to care deeply about someone else's happiness. The night of the party was a blur of emotion and accomplishment. The venue shimmered with golden lights, tables dressed in crisp linens and fragrant roses. Photos chronicling decades of love adorned the walls. The replica cake stood as a centerpiece, a sweet symbol of lasting commitment. I watched his parents arrive hand in hand, their faces alight with wonder and joy. When his mother gasped at the cake tears glistening in her eyes, I felt the weight of what we'd created together. It was more than a party. It was a testament to love's endurance. He stood beside me, his hand briefly touching the small of my back. "You did this," he whispered. "We did," I replied softly. Later, as he gave the toast, his voice clear and steady, he spoke not only of his parents, but of the unseen anchors in our lives, those who remind us what love truly means. His gaze found mine across the room, and I felt the sincerity in every word. Overwhelmed, I excused myself, heart pounding. He followed, quietly concern etched in his features. "Did I say too much?" he asked. "No," I said. "You said everything." We stood there in the hush of the hallway, connected in a silence deeper than words. His gentle touch to my arm sent a thrill I tried to mask. "I've been thinking about what happens when the party ends," he admitted. "I don't want this to end." His words echoed the hope I barely dared to speak. I looked up, searching his face for certainty. He nodded, unwavering. "You came into my life when I wasn't looking for anything, but somehow you became the thing I didn't know I was missing." I felt the fragile beginnings of something precious, a connection not born of desperation, but of genuine understanding. We walked back inside together, wordless the world around us, continuing its celebration, unaware of the quiet transformation taking place. In the days that followed, the ease between us grew. We didn't rush. There were no grand declarations or forced plans, just shared coffees, long conversations, and stolen moments that made life's burdens feel lighter. One Friday evening, as we wrapped up work, he asked me, "When's the last time you did something just for you?" I thought, then admitted I can't even remember. "I've been so busy just surviving." He smiled warmly. "Then, let's change that." That weekend, he whisked me away for a simple getaway to the coast, no schedules, no expectations. Just the sound of waves, quiet mornings with coffee, and evenings spent talking under the stars. We shared fears, dreams, and laughter, slowly weaving trust and healing. On our final morning walking along the shore, he took my hand with gentle certainty. "I don't want to be a chapter in your story. I want to build something real." His words held promise and courage. Back home, life resumed its hectic pace, but I faced it with renewed strength. I asked for a raise, started budgeting better, and even managed to pay my rent on time. No longer just surviving, I was building a life worth living. Our relationship wasn't perfect. There were moments of doubt and miscommunication, but the foundation of patience, kindness, and mutual respect made all the difference. His parents welcomed me with warmth, a sign that this was more than a fleeting connection. Months later, standing before the mirror, I barely recognized the woman who stared back stronger, lighter, filled with hope. Love had come quietly, not as a dramatic rescue, but as a gentle reminder that I was worthy of care and happiness. And sometimes that's the most shocking truth of all. The quiet connection that had blossomed between us transformed my life in ways I never expected. What began as a business arrangement slowly wove itself into something much deeper, something that challenged my notions of love, trust, and self-worth. The anniversary party was over, but the bond Mr. Whitaker and I shared only grew stronger. Our daily interactions became filled with a gentle warmth, a mutual understanding that neither of us had spoken aloud, but both felt deeply. His presence brought a lightness I hadn't experienced in years, and I found myself smiling more, breathing easier. But life wasn't suddenly perfect. The bills still arrived, the responsibilities piled up, and the past I'd worked so hard to overcome lingered like a shadow. Yet with him by my side, those challenges felt surmountable. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was beginning to live. One morning, as I sat with my coffee, he entered the room with that quiet confidence that had become so familiar. He sat beside me and asked, "What's your dream now?" I paused, surprised by the question. To feel stable. To feel like I'm enough. He nodded thoughtfully. "You are." Those words, so simple yet so profound, echoed in my heart. For the first time in a long time, I believed them. We spent weekends exploring the city, discovering small cafes and hidden parks. Conversations flowed effortlessly, covering everything from childhood memories to hopes for the future. With him, I could be myself without fear of judgment or rejection. Yet, beneath the growing happiness, fear lurked. The memory of past pain, divorce, financial struggles, loneliness made me cautious. Could I truly trust this new chapter? Could I open my heart again without fear of losing myself? One evening, after a particularly long day, he took my hand and looked into my eyes. "I'm not here to fix you," he said softly. "I'm here to walk beside you." That promise grounded me. But life is rarely without hurdles. When I asked for a raise at work, it was met with resistance. I felt my confidence waver, the old insecurities creeping back. He encouraged me, reminding me of my worth. "You're more capable than you realize," he said, standing by my side. His support bolstered me, and soon the raise was approved. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental in the context of all I had endured. As our relationship deepened, we faced the challenge of blending our worlds. He introduced me to his family, who welcomed me warmly. Their kindness eased my fears, making me feel included and valued. Still, there were moments of uncertainty, days when doubt crept in, and I questioned whether I deserved happiness. But each time he reassured me with patience and kindness. Together, we navigated the complexities of love that had grown from the most unlikely beginnings. We celebrated the ordinary and found joy in the simple acts of care, shared meals, quiet evenings, laughter. One night, as we sat on my couch after a long day, he reached for my hand. "You've changed everything for me," he whispered. I smiled, feeling the truth of his words. "You reminded me what I'd forgotten, that I deserved to be seen and loved." Our love wasn't a fairy tale, it was real, earned through resilience and hope. Some nights, I still think about how it all began, me drowning in bills, barely holding on, and him offering not just work, but kindness and trust. He didn't rescue me. He reminded me I could rescue myself. And that maybe, just maybe, I didn't have to do it alone. Our story is one of second chances, quiet strength, and the power of connection. If you're facing struggles, feeling unseen or overwhelmed, remember, sometimes life surprises us when we least expect it. Sometimes the most extraordinary love is the one that helps us find ourselves. This story isn't just about a struggling woman who found unexpected help. It's about rediscovering hope when everything feels lost. It's about the quiet moments that change everything, the simple acts of kindness that remind us we are not alone. Most importantly, it's about the courage to believe in ourselves again, even when the world feels like it's closing in. Sometimes life knocks us down to the lowest point so that we can rise stronger than before. For me, that low was being buried in bills and loneliness. But it was also the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter filled with trust, respect, and love I never thought I'd have again. It's easy to feel invisible when life's pressures mount. But the truth is, there's always someone who notices, who sees your worth even when you don't. That's what happened to me, and it changed everything. If you're watching this and struggling, remember, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to accept kindness and to open your heart again. Life's challenges don't define you, your resilience does. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment where someone unexpectedly changed your life? How did it impact your journey? Drop your thoughts and stories in the comments below. Your voice matters, and your experience might inspire someone else. If this story moved you, please hit the like button. It helps me bring more real stories about strength, love, and hope to this community. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss the next inspiring journey. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Remember, no matter how dark it gets, there's always a glimmer of light waiting to be found. Stay hopeful, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next story.